Morning, everybody. I'm doing another Instagram Live this morning as part of my series of ongoing conversations with people working in the arts. The purpose of this is to just sort of unravel the potential layers of mystery in the art world and kind of walk everybody through and learn myself about how the art world works. Today I'm going to be speaking with Susannah Morgan of SKM Art Advising, and I'm now. Morning, everybody. Hi, thanks for joining. I'm just waiting for Susannah to join in. Hi, Susannah. He called her. Let's see. Here she is. Oh, having trouble connecting here. Morning, Calder. Let's see. Huh. Morning, everybody. Susannah, let me know if you have received that invite. I know that. Oh, hey.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning. Thank
Good
you
morning.
for talking with me this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Sorry about the trouble connecting you.
Oh, that's okay. I was wondering if it was me or not, but I guess not.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying before, the purpose of these conversations is to just sort of walk everybody through how the art world works, and you play an important role in the art world, and how artwork gets connected to collectors and how artists' works gets out there in the world, and also as an artist coach. So could you just give us a brief introduction to you and to what your business is?
Sure. So my name is Susannah Morgan. I'm an art advisor. My company's name is SKM Art Advising. I started my company in 2018 after having worked as a commercial art consultant and as a gallery director for many years in both New York and in Austin. And I decided after working as a commercial art consultant that I really missed working with individuals and that kind of personal touch. So now I work with individual collectors and sometimes with their designers as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And in your eyes, what does an art advisor do?
So you said it already, actually. So I see my role as an advisor as a connector between not just the client and the rest of the art world, but with artists and the clients. It's important for an art advisor to be current on everything that's going on in the art market, to have relationships with the best artists, the best gallery owners, the best framers and installers and handlers and shippers and appraisers, across the board, so that we can provide the best services on behalf of our clients, which is ultimately who we're doing everything on behalf of. So staying current is, I would say, one of the most important things that an art advisor needs to do.
Right. Mm-hmm. And how did you get started being interested in this? What was the reason why you wanted to open this business?
Mm-hmm. I have always loved art for my entire life, and for most of my life thought I wanted to own a gallery. After working in galleries for many years, I decided that wasn't quite the direction that I wanted to take. And having worked as a consultant, that kind of the scope just opened up on what's possible to do with art, working with bigger budgets, really exciting clients, really exciting artists. was a real eye opener as to what, the world is out there for these kinds of projects. And so I was really excited to start doing that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say to like people looking to learn more about art? How do people go about learning about the arts? And
You have to look at it. You have to spend a
yeah,
lot of time looking at art. So go to every museum that you can go to, even if it's your local regional museum. It doesn't have to be the Met. You can go somewhere local and see incredible artworks. But just spend time looking. Go to galleries, go to fairs, go to events like East and West, and just get used to looking at art and look at it from different perspectives. I like to encourage my clients, start by standing back and see what you notice, and that get closer, and start to notice the details and those finer details that you don't see from far away. Look at texture, look at materials and how they may overlap and layer, and think about what the artist might be trying to say with those choices in color and material and that kind of thing. But the most important thing is to look and to ask questions.
yeah, I think that I the biggest hurdle that most people, potential collectors or just people who are
Mm-hmm.
interested in the arts, struggle with is like, I don't know anything about art.
Yeah.
But just like with music, I mean, it doesn't have to be more complicated than the things that you like. You can,
100%. Yes. Yeah.
uh,
There's this idea that people need to like be, know about the market and be able to understand, all of these different nuances. And you really don't. It truly is, do you like it? Then that's a good piece of art, you know?
that's it.
Hmm.
What kind of albums do you collect?
Yeah.
What kind of music do you listen to? And it's the same
Hmm.
with home. When I walk around my home and think about the artwork that I collect, I
Hmm.
want to be excited by the things that I see there, and I want to like it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're going to live with it for a long time, especially if you've made a big investment in the, cost of the piece of art. It's not something that you're going to throw away after 6 months. You're going to live with it for potentially your whole life, so it's important that it's going to grow with you.
And I think the other potentially intimidating thing for people who aren't artists but want to visit galleries or museums is feeling like you don't belong.
Hmm.
Um, you don't have to come in to a gallery or go to a museum and feel like a high roller and buy something, or
Yeah.
you can just look and get a taste for what you like,
Hmm.
um, see different artwork, and with all of that under your belt, that's when you start to be more confident
Yeah.
in what you like. And it's people like you who can help people find the galleries to go to. And
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Because those kind of high roller, sexy art galleries and art events that people hear about in the news, that's a small sliver of the
right,
whole art ecosystem. It truly is maybe 10%, of everyone in the world, everyone in this country who, have regional galleries. If someone walked into your gallery, they would be warmly welcomed.
right,
And you're the kind of gallery owner who's really enthusiastic about talking to people. So, there's somewhere for everyone, for sure.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's great. And there's another side of your business too, as an artist coach.
Hmm.
And what does that entail?
Yeah, so I added this service to my business after about 6 months, because over the years I noticed that I was getting, and I'm sure you get this, you've noticed stuff like this too. I get the same kinds of questions and the same comments from artists that tell me that they don't really understand what's going on. For example, as a consultant, I would get emails from artists saying, "I'm so excited that you're representing me." Well, consultants don't represent artists, galleries do, and it's a completely different kind of relationship. So that tells me that artist doesn't really understand what we're going to be doing together. So that told me also that artists are not necessarily able to make good, empowered decisions about their careers if they don't understand those relationships and the nuances. So I started the coaching services to be able to provide artists with an insider perspective and an insider access to who does what and why. Why are you being asked for certain information? And to be able to empower them to make informed decisions about their careers and the choices that they want to make. So they're not wasting time, you know?
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is the same reason why I started this
Mm-hmm.
type of conversation, this
Mm-hmm.
ongoing series of conversations with curators and art advisors, folks like you,
Mm-hmm.
who work in the arts, because that's what is so surprising to me is everybody seems confused about how the art
Yeah.
world works
Yeah.
on both sides of
It's
the collective.
really confusing. Yeah.
And it is really confusing because it feels shrouded in mystery,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't have to be confusing.
No.
Things are pretty straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you understand, what does a gallery do, what does a museum do, what
Exactly.
does an art advisor do, what's the
Mm-hmm.
artist's job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How would you say, so would you say that you're more servicing collectors rather than artists, or is it a bridge between the two? Um, where I guess, where is that divide between what a gallery does and what an advisor does?
Good question. Okay, so the most important difference is that galleries represent artists. You, as a gallery owner, are working on behalf of these artists that you represent. You have a stake in their career. And so it's part of your job to promote them and to help them advance their careers, because that's a mutually beneficial thing between the two of you. Um, for me, as an art advisor, I don't have that kind of stake in an artist's career. I have a database that's full of artists that I have relationships with, but I do not, promote artists. I don't hold an inventory. I don't have, a gallery space. I don't have a showroom. So that's the biggest difference, is that an advisor will sell your work, but will not represent you, will not promote you, and have that stake in your career the same way that a gallery does, which is why it's important that you have in the ecosystem. So there's the art world ecosystem, but there's also the ecosystem of an artist's career. And it should have a combination of a lot of different things. So you should have, galleries in different markets representing you, but then work with as many advisors as you possibly can, because there's no contract with those art advisors. You can work with as many as you want. So that's what I advise my clients to do for the most part. And that's the biggest difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is potentially such a deeper conversation too,
Yeah.
about what the difference is and what,
Yeah.
as an artist, you should be expecting from an
Mm-hmm.
advisor, and what you should be expecting from a gallery, and uh, you know what
Yeah.
you expect of a museum show compared to like a commercial gallery show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All they all and this maybe is where the confusion comes from on the artist side, where to go.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something else that comes up too is that that's important to mention is that an advisor is not going to advise you on your pricing. A gallery will work with you on your pricing, but an art advisor won't do that. They just want to know what your price is,
Right.
but we're not going to recommend a price for you.
Right.
No.
So if you were to take on a new artist,
Mm-hmm.
as the artist coach,
Yeah.
what would be sort of the starting point? If you had to just give a single piece of advice, where would you even start?
Well, if I'm going into a coaching relationship with an artist, it always starts with the discovery call to understand what they're looking for and if it's a good fit, and then we have a kickoff meeting where we, in the monthly coaching one-on-ones, we sit down and we talk through a ton of things, and we set a major focus for the year. It's a 12-month relationship. We set a major focus for the year. We set annual goals that we're going to be working towards together. And then each meeting after that is focused on that focus and those goals. And the artist has action items every month designed to move closer towards those goals.
Wow.
It's such a great, it's so fun. I love it. It's really fun. But the most important thing that I would say, a piece of advice that I would give artists if they're just getting started, is to advocate for yourself and be out in the world. So the art world is not going to come to you as an
Right.
artist. You need to be out there so that you can be seen. A lot of new and kind of emerging artists will come to me if I'm working with them, and they'll say, well, I don't feel comfortable showing. If I show in a coffee shop, is that going to hurt me? The answer is no, because those artists that you look up to, that you respect, that have been in the business for a long time, all started out showing in a restaurant or a coffee shop or somewhere like that. So it's important not to be too precious about where you're showing. Make sure that it makes sense within the context of your work, and maybe kind of works with your values as a person and as an artist. But beyond that, just show out as many times as you can, in as many different places as you can.
I totally agree with that too. I think that sometimes emerging artists think that they're going to just blow up based
Yeah.
on the merit of their work, which, makes a lot of sense and maybe
Mm-hmm.
should. But if your work isn't out in front of the public in
Mm-hmm.
an exhibition or, on display somewhere
Yeah.
where people can come visit it, then
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to gain any traction? Uh,
100%. Yeah.
so
And there's another important aspect to this too, is that the work needs to be high quality. So you need to get the best materials that you can afford at that time, and you need to be really conscious of your finishing details. That's the most important thing that I look for when I'm looking at a new artist, is how does this artist finish out their painting? I like to look at the edges of the canvas. Do they use that to, do they continue painting on the side of the canvas, not an extension of the image, but an additional like special touch that just shows that you're a real professional and you know what you're doing and you're making intentional choices. That's something that a lot of artists don't do, and they
that's
should.
nice. So, some of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite paintings, or artists will tape off the edge of their canvas
Mm-hmm.
with some blue tape so that
Mm-hmm.
they can peel it away and just get a nice clean line. If you're not going to
Totally.
cut out the edge of
Mm-hmm.
your painting, take the
Yeah.
extra step in the beginning when you're about to make your painting
Yep.
and tape that off and be intentional about it. I think that's
Absolutely.
awesome advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
notice,
Mm-hmm.
and even subconsciously,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Um, Um, so with art advising, how does that, is it an ongoing relationship with your clients there, or is it a sort of a one-off? You're working with for a specific space?
Mm-hmm.
What is,
For the most part, it's an ongoing relationship. So even if that client will come in and say, I just have this empty wall, it will end up growing, and they'll say, oh, I love this. I have this other wall, let's do
yeah,
this one. And it'll grow from there. I usually end up working with clients over several years, and have, good friendly relationships with them, because it is a long-term relationship.
yeah. I think
Hmm.
that's also just like illustrates the power of having art in your home. You start,
Hmm.
all of a sudden you've got a relationship with this piece
Yeah.
and you see, wow, this is so much different than having a mirror or like some other
Yeah.
type of decor. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not just the piece itself, it's the experience that you had in finding that piece. So that journey from discovery call to putting it on the wall, and you have a story to tell people when they come in. And it becomes part of a story of who you are as a person, or if it's a family, who you are as a family.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than just having something nice on the wall, which is also a good reason to have art, to have something nice to look at. um, yeah.
And in general, as an art advisor now you've got a relationship with a client and,
Mm.
you know, you're now sort of a resource for them in many different layers. I mean,
Hmm.
this world from the artist side, this world from the gallery side, this world
Hmm.
from the advising side and from
Hmm.
the other side. So, um, you know, if you're curious about how the art world works or feel intimidated, speaking with people like yourself, who are involved and it's their job to be in this world. I mean,
Hmm.
better place to start.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And on the artist side, is it an ongoing relationship the same way as it sort of is with your collectors?
Yeah, most of my artists, I do the monthly one-on-one coaching. Usually that's over several years, and I've been doing it since 2018. So I have several artists that I've worked with over that entire time. And then I also do an artist statement intensive, which is a 5-week um, program where we get really zeroed in on your statement. And that usually then leads to the artist wanting to do the one-on-one monthly coaching as well. So
Wow.
yeah. Hmm.
I know that can be intimidating for artists and really difficult to put your visual
Yes.
message into words.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. I added the artist statement intensive in the fall of last year. So November was the first month I did it. And it is such a rich and rewarding experience. There's so much discovery that happens just if for new and for experienced artists. They come into it and I hear the word dreaded a lot. They'll say,
hmm,
"Oh, I dread my artist statement. I hate it. I hate writing it. Does anyone ever read it?" And so we spend some time, understanding what your statement is used for, who is reading it, and why they're reading it, and what information you need to have in it. And then we spend each meeting going through your who, your what, your how, and your why. And each meeting is geared towards one of those topics, and that's your 3 to 4 paragraph statement. And the artists will answer, who are you? Who are
yeah,
you as a person? Who are you as an artist? And as they're talking, I will transcribe. I will be typing out exactly what they're saying as they're saying it. And then I'll distill it down into the most important points and send that back to them. And then they will write the paragraph based on what they've already said. So it's essentially just rewording what they've already said. They've already written it. We just need to put it together.
wow,
Yeah,
that's such an awesome service.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I, I hadn't even really thought about how important an artist statement is in that context. Who is reading it and why are they reading it and
Mm-hmm.
what kind of information are they trying to gather?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I'm sure like as a gallery owner, you read a lot of statements. And I'm sure there are some pet peeves and some things that you see a lot that just drive you nuts. Like for me, it's when artists say, "I'd let the painting develop, take its own course. Tell me where it wants to go." It's an intuitive process. That may be true, but you're also making very specific choices along that way. This painting isn't making itself. So, and that's where the interest comes in. That's what I want to read about is the choices the artist is making, not, that the paint just, lands where it is and that's where it stays. You're
yeah,
making choices.
yeah,
So, yeah.
and why? Yeah,
And why?
great.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I was just reviewing your website too, and
Mm.
saw that are you expanding between here and Austin, and how is that going to change what you do?
Yeah, so we have
New
expanded
York.
into New York. Yeah, we are now in a little town called Dobbsbury, which is just like 17 miles north of the city, and we're going to be splitting time between Austin and New York. So we're still going to have clients in Austin, but our base is going to be in New York, and so we're growing and we're excited. But the great thing about the artist coaching is that specifically and the art advising as well is that so much of it can be done virtually. All of my coaching meetings are on Zoom, so nothing changes there. But yeah,
It
so
makes me
that's
wonder, where do you find sort of the galleries and artists that you connect your clients to? Is it now in New York and Texas, or is it really nationally?
it's internationally. It's
International.
anywhere. That's one of the
Yeah.
cool things about being an art advisor is that I can work with anyone that I want to anywhere in the world. And that's also again the benefit of working with an advisor is your access expands exponentially.
Well, you've got all the time because it's your
Mm-hmm.
job to
Yeah,
do research when a client
yeah,
might not have 30 hours, 40 hours a week to sit down and just search what's up.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's a huge chunk of what I do during the day is looking at galleries and going to galleries, going to studio visits, and it also not just the art side, but also the other people who make up the art industry. So visiting storage facilities and making sure that that's going to be good enough for clients who maybe need to store work, that kind of thing. Getting to know new framers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I think what you're doing is amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to have this conversation because I think that it gives people more context about, how the art world functions. And that's really the point of these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it can be intimidating for people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I get it too, because it is complex, but just like any, you know, any business world. So I appreciate your time, and I think this
Yeah.
conversation has been very helpful. I hope that people who have watched this feel like they can reach out to you. They can reach out
Absolutely.
with their questions, and
Hmm.
that's what, you know, I hope the service that I provide and you provide is a resource for people, because this is
Hmm.
what we're experts in, and
Yeah.
not everybody has the time.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I want to say to you that I love what you're doing with your gallery. I think that your approach is so fresh and exciting, and your artists are really great. And so yeah, I love what you're doing.
thanks so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think we're both lucky to be working in
absolutely.
businesses that we love.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah. Thanks so much for your time, Susannah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye.